Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host, Darren, and guess what? That's why you don't run channels in the background because they'll start playing the audio. It's been a long time since I've been doing this, but it's live and anything goes. And right now, I'm sitting in the Spark studio in Phoenix, Arizona. Coming in on the other end, I have my guest today, Scott Slyter, all the way from Austin, Texas. Scott, how you doing today?
Living the dream.
Awesome.
Living the dream, man.
It sounds like you are one busy guy over there, not only in addition to running a very successful entertainment company, you also are a producer and DJ. So, what got you started in all this stuff? I mean, was it one day a record fell on your head and then you realized then that's what you're going to do for a living?
Good question. How did I fall into DJing? I guess it was falling into music first, right? And so Darren, my brother Darren, got me into music when I was 13. So this was back in 97, not to date myself, but 1997 was the first time I put a bass guitar in my hands, learned how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit. Got into playing bass, got into a punk band. We only played like 2 shows. We were very unsuccessful and not really that good, but it was fun. It was fun to play punk rock. And then got into freestyle rapping, short career as a rapper. All my friends freestyle rapped back in the day down in South Texas. And it just kind of fell through there, basically, just always was kind of into music.
And the transition into electronic music, or was it always, what got you into new disco? Because that's kind of the genre you're known for.
It's
pop.
Right. It was a weird blend. So got into freestyle rapping. And then I joined the Coast Guard when I was 18. And I told the recruiters, take me as far away from South Texas as you possibly can. They laughed. And then they did. They sent me to Alaska. I swear.
And they did.
Yeah. They shipped me off to Alaska.
Okay.
Is where I was stationed, and it was super badass. But I kind of fell out of music then. Wasn't really rapping. I was on a boat in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. I was really, really cold. I'd never seen snow in my entire life until I was 18 years old, and I got more snow than I ever wanted. But it was super fun. I loved it. The Coast Guard was super badass. I got out, and then in 07, I got out of the service. Came back to Texas, and my mom bought me a MacBook Pro, and it had GarageBand. So that was kind of my first producing ever, was in 07. And I would just get instrumentals. Me and my friends would rap. And I messed around a little bit with production, but not like a whole lot. And so I went to college from 07 to 12, which is arguably the big electronic shift that not only got me into electronic music, but everyone else. Dubstep kind of killed Taking Back Sunday, and emo punk rock and roll kind of, for at least my generation of like college students. You know, we weren't really listening to rock. We were listening to, Datsik and Bass Nectar. And so I actually hated electronic music. Ironically enough, I didn't ever enjoy it. And then I went to a rave, like 2009, right when the big swing of raving happened. And as cheesy as it sounds, I saw DJ Tiesto. I think it was 08, 09, Sao Padre Island, which is one of the biggest beach parties of the planet back then. There's 40,000 college kids all raging on the beach. And I saw Tiesto, and it was kind of like, once you see, house music live, it's a much, much different experience. And my switch went from off to on, and it was like, okay, I get this. I want to fucking do this.
Mhm. It's funny you mentioned seeing house music live. I was just at ADE, and out of all the things I missed while I was there, I got to go to one meetup, one
ADE. What does ADE stand for?
Amsterdam dance event over in Amsterdam. Like,
whoa,
150,000 people for like 7 days.
Shit.
It's like if you're in the industry, you go to Amsterdam and network and meet people. And funny enough, you'll know the name. I I got to go to one of the conference events that was being held, and it happened to be the one with Carl Cox.
Whoa.
And Carl Cox was, there was I'd say maybe 200 people in the room. And we had got in late as press. We got in and got some good seats for it. And Carl was talking about, once again, reinventing himself. And you'll see where I'm going with this, because you mentioned the word seeing house music live. And what Carl was doing is he goes, being a DJ, I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not quoting him.
Yeah.
But being a DJ is kind of done. DJing is, you're getting up there, you're playing other people's music. And people in the audience, he knew, because he was kind of leading it on to say, yes, this is Carl going through another one of his crazy phases of trying to do something new and trying to bring something different to the table. And where he's now looking at focusing on his actual live music production during the shows. So, you would have, like, he was up there on stage and he had a deck, but he had his TR-303. He had a laptop connected to it. And then he would obviously bring the sounds into the TR-303, the sequencer, and then be able to make a track on the fly, something that's never been heard before, ever.
Right.
And, you could learn how to duplicate that in certain ways, shape, or form. But when you said live house music, it triggered that response. Like, is there going to be an industry shift where you're going to get away from the equipment has not become so big and hefty right now? I'm in the Spark studio right now, and there's keyboards and amplifiers, drums, stand-up bass, drums, all this stuff around me. And you don't have to carry that much with you anymore to do something like that. It can all be in one box. I remember you were mentioning, GarageBand. I used to work for Apple. Loved it when GarageBand came out. I started playing with Logic back in the day, and found the sequencer in Logic to be fun, and you can make music. But as for a live performance setting, it wasn't really the best. But anyways, you mentioned live house music. I don't think Tiesto does live house music, but that shift coming. That's a shift that's coming in there, and so I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of that. What is your take on that? And would you look to be doing maybe live production, taking your productions and live on stage? I mean, whether it's via stems or whatnot, is that something you've looked at?
Yeah. Good question. There is one DJ, I'd say, in Austin that does that better than anyone in the nation. Buck Rogers, shout out to my boy Buck. If you're watching this, he is fucking awesome. Excuse my French, but he is insane. And we both ended up DJing Formula One this past race when they came through Austin. There was 450,000 people that came throughout the weekend, and that's Buck's bread and butter. And if he didn't get the top 3, I think he actually won the Red Bull competition for DJing. And what is it? Through live production. He's the best finger puncher I've ever seen in my entire life. And so he's basically hitting a melody that'll play on its own, hitting the kicks, hitting the claps, hitting the hats, live as you watch it. And Talib Kweli, the rapper, actually came to Austin. They do the last Tuesday in Austin every month. He flies in, and it's a native, and it's super intimate. It's not like some huge, crazy 1,000-person venue. It's like a cool, vibey coffee hostel. And I actually have a monthly there called Native Hostel. And Buck comes through, and he's doing live production, and he is fucking ripping it up. The rappers are really, really talented. Me personally, will I get to that level? I mean, I play like live bass. I have friends that play like live guitar. Um, I don't know if I'm ever going to be like literally hitting the kicks and the claps, but I want to push myself as a DJ and have more fun with it. Um, and there's ways where you can sample a vocal, chop it up, and in a sense, that is somewhat of a live aspect to it. So that would be cool.
Absolutely. I want to pause for a second, give a shout out to Aaron Waldock, who just came.
Man.
He
My
says,
boy Aaron.
This is one of the cool things we can do. He says, get it.
That's one of my DJ friends from Austin.
Awesome. Has your music, obviously it sounds, my next question is kind of, I guess, redundant because we already answered it, but I was going to ask, has your musical taste changed over time, or do you think it will? And I think this is going to more apply towards your electronic music career, not starting out in punk rock and going to hip hop.
Right.
Obviously, we covered that, but over time, has that changed, or do you think it will? Do you think it'll morph out of new disco into maybe tech house or trance or something new?
Yeah, my music definitely has evolved, and I feel like that is pretty sound for most people. Speaking for me personally, I don't know if everyone has this experience, but like I got into electronic music 2009, 2010, so 12, 13 years ago. And I don't know if it was just me or if all of America had this evolution where when you first get into it, it seems like dubstep is kind of the thing that everyone's getting into, right? Like I'm still every now and then, passing by a heavier, like electronic dubstep show, and you see these kids just headbanging on the rails,
moshing in the mosh pit,
just going crazy, ape shit, and that makes me happy for them. Now I can only handle like 20 or 30 minutes of like
that was me in happy hardcore after about 3 years, from 92 to 95-ish.
Right. For me, it was like a phase, and somehow, some way, it was heavier house, like introduced itself. Jaws was like really on the forefront of something where it's in between dubstep and house, kind of. You've got like just a lot of different artists that were doing different things then, that kind of put me down a path of like, okay, it's heavier house, but it's still somewhere in between. Night bass was like a big influencer back in the day, like 5 years ago. So I evolved out of dubstep. Trap was a thing for a while. And then I fell into heavier house music. And I lived there for a while, until I played, and I went and I played my first mini vacation in San Diego, and one of my friends there took me to Tijuana, and I heard minimal house.
Wait,
for the first time.
I have to get the censor board out right now.
We'll censor the story. I'll only give you pieces. It was one of the craziest effing things, because on that trip, have you seen the movie The Hangover?
Yes.
They lose a friend. They're very worried about this friend, that they don't know if they're dead or alive. This happened to me, but not in Vegas, in Tijuana. And replace your guy friend with one of our girlfriends. And she went missing in TJ. And we were worried sick about her. Megan, if you're still out there, love you, girl. To give you like an end to the story, she's alive and okay. But for 24 hours, we were concerned. And we were all partying, and she just met someone that she connected with and left, and her phone died.
Oh no.
And she had the keys to the Airbnb. So my boy Andy Colt, love him. He was part of the tour as well. We didn't know how to get back in to our Airbnb. So we were like drunk in Tijuana. We lost one of our girlfriends. There was 3 of us left. We didn't have the keys. We had to get this random like hotel. And luckily we woke up, she called, she was fine. But the minimal house music that I heard, I realized there's a lot of things are happening in minimal. And I think I had to be ready to hear that, and then that opened the door, and then disco and all kinds of things came in.
And Love You, your latest track, where would you put that at? Where would that live? I loved it, by the way. No pun
Thank
intended.
you.
But
cool.
Where would you put that? Where does that fall on the spectrum? What genre would that be in?
That's a good question. That was a really fun track to make. I made it with my friend Shep, and it's bassy, it's tech house. The synth, you could say, is like somewhat disco. And then I took Common the rapper's vocal and him talking about that it's such a strange time right now on Earth, and things seem dark and things seem weird, but the best thing that we can do is, put love out there. And so I took his vocal, added effects, chopped it up, and that's how the track came about.
And you also had some unreleased mixes that are coming out that you mentioned they're possibly getting signed, or they're getting signed. Can you tell us about those, or are those still too under wraps to talk about?
I can talk in general terms. And
well, let me go get my NDA. Here's my
NDA. Yeah, so basically, what happened to me during the pandemic, and it connects with these labels that I'm working with currently and I've worked with in the past. During the pandemic, I couldn't DJ. I couldn't run my wedding company. I couldn't see humans. And so you're just like kind of bored, but it was the biggest blessing. And it was one of the best things that ever happened to my art career. And all I could really do was learn how to produce. So I didn't really, really fall into production till 2020. And then that's all I could do. And it was the best release that I've ever had in my life. And I learned how to play the piano. I never played the piano before. And one of my girlfriends, she taught me how to play like the chords, major and minor scales. And then I would start listening to like lo-fi chill hop and learning how to guess the key right by hitting the right key on the piano. And then from there I could start freestyling with it. And then another friend of mine, Boogie Tracks, he really pushed my artist career because he was always getting signed, and he started hearing my music. He's like, dude, some of this is good. So he'd get signed with a record label first. And then if he thought the song was good enough, he would do a warm intro. And so my first label was Soul Treasure Records in Italy. It was so exciting. First one out the gate. I'd been producing for like 3 months, but it was clean enough to get signed. The contract was in Italian. I didn't even know what I was signing. I just signed it. They paid me like $5 to date. I've gotten $5 on my royalties, but I have a lot of love and respect for them taking a chance. And then I got introduced to Super Spicy Records in Mexico City. Jesus is the man. Love You. And that's one of the coolest record labels on the Western Hemisphere of the planet. They are working with really, really big names. A lot of underground stuff goes through Mexico and goes through that label. And they signed a few of my tracks. My friend played live guitar on it. And so I made connections with these labels, and I revisit some of them when it's not a new label. I'll go back to someone else I worked with.
And your release, Knew the Time,
Yeah,
was given a 5 stars by Mark Knight and played on
Mark.
David Penn's radio.
It
Tell us about
was.
that and how that came to fruition.
Yeah. So basically, I connected with Paul Morgan, who runs iMusic in England. Shout out, Paul. Love you, man. And he is really, really savvy, and he's known a lot of people in the industry for a long time. He's been doing music for 25 years. He liked some of my music, and we started talking. And he uses a program called InFlight, INFLYTE. It is an awesome underground resource where DJs and producers share music before it's released. And if they like the song enough and download it, they have to give it a rating. So that means Knew the Time did really, really well. I made that with Boogie, and I sent it to Paul. He's like, "This is a bop. Like, let's get it out." And then he sent it to Mark Knight, to David Penn, who I opened up for David when he was in Austin. And so the hard thing about music is, they downloaded it, and what's cool is they'll rate it, but you don't know if they end up playing it. So I have a lot of friends in the scene where they'll know that someone downloaded it. They won't hear anything. Like, one of my friends had Carl Cox play his track, but Carl didn't like text him first to let him know, right?
Yeah.
He's just like, I like this song. He gave him some love, and then he doesn't hear anything. And then one of his friends was in the crowd and heard his song, took the video, and that's how Joey Pinto in New York knew Carl was playing his stuff. And so it's one of those things where it would be awesome if Mark Knight or David played one of my songs out, but I might not ever know.
Yeah. Interesting if there was like a thing like NFT, something you could track this with, or a device that says every time this track is played, it automatically counts. I'm sure ASCAP, BMI, and CSAC would love that.
Yeah.
Especially an artist would probably love it too for royalty payouts, knowing that their tracks are being played. It's probably in the pipeline, in the works, but we'll see what happens there. Technology is always advancing. But who's been your biggest influence when it comes to your career as an artist, and why?
Okay, so shout out Papito from Brazil. Nitron is one of the most well-known disco house producers, on top of artists like Purple Disco Machine. Nitron has this edit, a Prince edit of Kiss, and it's one of the most solid remixes when I need the crowd to start moving. It's the go-to song. And me and my friends in Austin always fucking play this song. And I was such a fan of Nitron's. And I hit him up 2 years ago and was just like, dude, I'm a big fan of your music. I love what you've been doing. And then he messaged me back. And then I was going to bring him to Austin. So I talked to his manager on the phone for like an hour, and we had this great conversation. He's like, dude, we love you. We're going to do this American tour, and you're going to open up for Nitron in all of America. The tour fell through, didn't end up happening. Getting your like papers to play in the States is not easy. And so international artists battle with that. But me and Papito is his nickname, because he's, I guess, the granddaddy of disco in his country in Brazil. And him and I stayed friends. And then we started sending tracks to each other, this was over months and months, almost like a year time. We would just send stuff. He'd send me stuff, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. I'd play it out in the club. I would like tag him on Instagram when I'd play some of his music. And then I would send him stuff. He'd give me feedback. And then I sent him this remix of Rod Stewart, If You Think I'm Sexy. And he's like, this. And so he decided, let's collab on it. So me and Nitron start working on this track. And one of my favorite labels, Prison Entertainment, I want to say they're based out of England. They're one of the top 10 disco labels on the planet, according to Beatport. They're number 2. Sometimes they're number 1. They're always jockeying for that number 1 slot. Nitron knows them well and sent them the track. And Prison Entertainment was like, we're going to sign it. And so they signed the song. And then we broke the top 100 on Beatport, which isn't necessarily like always the hardest thing to do. And it doesn't mean you're going to therefore like it's going to change your life or career, but it's still a really cool like milestone. And it was awesome. It was really, really cool to be able to make a song with Nitron. So not only have him influence me, but then become friends with them. And the longer you're in the scene, I think the more human everyone really is. And if you make good music and you're just a good person, you're going to eventually work with all these people or connect with them. They like your stuff, you like theirs. And so, Nitron's probably one of my top.
Nice. And do you feel that you're an inspiration to others?
Interesting. I've never thought about that until this moment. I feel like on a microcosm, we all in our own city have an effect on each other. So, I mean, I'm definitely not like, one of the top 10 of, the states. And it's not like I'm getting bum rushed when I leave my door or anything insane like that. Right. But like in the city of Austin, I would hope that like, through Disco Nap, my collective, we've put on a lot of shows and got to put on some good crowds for some really talented DJs and not use the same DJs in rotation. So in a sense, I feel like, not just my music, but our events and everything, we've been a good influence on other people in the city and, that are doing stuff. San Diego, LA, we're bringing in artists, San Francisco. So from a peer-to-peer level, I think I'm really fortunate and I have a lot of respect and love from the people that I work with. I don't know if I would say an inspiration to them, but I would say that they have love for me and I've helped their career, in a way.
And you mentioned Disco Nap in there. Tell our DJ Sessions fans about Disco Nap.
Disco Nap. We're going to save the planet through house, love, and disco and dance, which is the big pie in the sky dream, is to throw events and shows and festivals, maybe one day as big as, South by Southwest, ACL, which are our big festivals here in Austin, and to give 50% of the net profits to fight environmental climate change, because it's not looking awesome. And I don't think it's going to be the 1% or the rich corporate CEOs who's going to save us. It's going to be normal, everyday people like you and myself. And so the idea is we throw tech house and disco shows, and we try to raise money to help environmental agencies. ClimateChangemakers.org is a really good way to get plugged in and to try to help. And then we also help the Austin Child Guidance Center, which helps children with mental disabilities here in Austin. So there's just been different nonprofits that we've helped with our disco house shows. But we do more than just disco house. So if you want to play in Austin, you want to come to a cool vibey show, hit us up. It doesn't have to be just disco. It's like tech house, deeper or heavier. But we don't play dubstep. So nothing personal.
And did you ever take this? Did any of this go and live online and in like a live streaming platform? Did you embrace that technology? Well, let me ask you this: when did Disco Nap start?
Yeah, Disco Nap started literally like right before the pandemic.
Okay.
Like right before. And we lived on Twitch for a little while. And it was really weird. It was a really strange, odd time. Like I'll never forget like DJing on my balcony, and playing music. And then people who were walking their dogs, they were so hungry for music that they heard me playing on my balcony in the middle of central Austin and stopped, and like a small little gathering of people who were 6 feet away from each other started like hanging out and dancing, and just having those 10 people, after months of no human interaction was like the greatest. And so, yeah, we lived online for a little bit. We were on YouTube. We had some of our like stuff there. We had someone who did pole dancing and hula hooping, fire spinning. So we had like a show where we were DJing and we had fire spinners, because that's a big thing in Austin, is spinning fire. I do it a little bit myself. It's been a while since I've spun the dragon staff. But yeah, we're online a little bit. We didn't really dedicate ourselves a whole bunch. Typically, where we live is in-person shows now in Austin. But it would be smart for event throwers to always at least try to double post. So like not only throw the show, but somehow try to capture it. We just never crossed that bridge.
Yeah, definitely. We've been doing the live streaming thing for, our 13th anniversary just passed. And yeah, it's been a wild ride over the years, but it was interesting seeing everyone kind of finally, when I would go out there in the world, I would say, "Oh, we're a live streaming DJ show that's on Twitch." And people would say, well, "Who would want to watch a DJ online?" Or the follow-up was they'd say, "What's Twitch?"
Right.
Now everyone's like, "Okay, I watch DJs online. I get it." Or I know what Twitch is now.
Yeah. If I could have like purchased Twitch stock 2 months before the pandemic, I would be retired. Sell it right at the high. Like I can only imagine Twitch saved the planet in a sense, at least when it comes to the entertainment side. Pascal and everyone went straight there. And you guys had been doing it all along.
Yeah, I was that crazy kid saying, "This is the future. This is the future." That's usually how it works when I bite into something. Now my next step is going into the metaverse and launching our nightclubs in the metaverse. We're getting ready to. Our nightclubs are soft open, but we're getting ready to grand open them, and got a lot of stuff planned for those and in alt space right now, and then later VR chat and other places.
Whoa! So metaverse. So you have to like log into Facebook, and then. Like you're trying to understand what the metaverse is.
No. I mean, the metaverse is I was trying to explain it to my business partner today. Think of the metaverse as the universe.
Yeah.
And in the universe, there are galaxies. And now Meta could be a galaxy, alt space can be a galaxy, VR chat can be a galaxy. But these are all different like applications or programs. So they don't talk to each other, but you can be a user, and I can go into Horizon, which is Meta. I can go into Alt Space, which is basically Microsoft. Or I can go into VR Chat, which is VR Chat, and have an experience in there. There's other things you can do. Like my mom thinks that VR is just a video game. I don't want to play video games. I don't play video games. I'm like, Mom, there's so much more you can do in VR than just play video games. You can go watch a movie. You can go to a church group. You can go to, a metaphysical group. You can have discussions with people from all over the world, and you're not doing this in a 2D environment,
right,
on a keyboard like this flat screen that we're on. We're actually doing this kind of like you're in person with somebody, you know, and have an experience. And you can go tour somewhere and, hey, you can go over to this room and talk with somebody over here and, you know, or experience something or watch. Like I said, there's so much you can do. And I mean, it's all going to finally roll out. But I think once it hits the point where everyone has to have one, like the Atari, I just dated myself, or the Nintendo, just dated myself again, or the
Sega
PlayStation,
Genesis,
Xbox, Sega Genesis. Okay, yeah, I was with all those. But you know, once it gets to become that household name, that we're going to go into the metaverse, we're going to go into VR. You know, I'm sure there's some coined phrase that'll come up with it. I'm going to, well, Facebook switching over to Meta. You know, I'm going to Meta today. You know, or Meta. You know, or something as synonymous like Xerox or Rollerblade or something. You know,
I feel like Meta's probably like 4 or 5 years from being everywhere. And there's going to be something that like cracks it open. And so it's either like an update to the system itself to where it's like it looks kind of good and now it's like this is like real life. Like once that happens, it's going to be a watershed moment.
And that's what we see is we're kind of like on that cutting edge. We're ahead of the wave. We're ahead of the curve on getting ready and set up. Like I saw the .com era come through, you know, and people were like, my company, I don't need a website. Those companies that said, I don't need a website back when .com was in, they're probably not around anymore. The companies that embraced it and understood what it was meant to have an online presence, or somebody saying, I don't need a Facebook page. I don't need to do social media. I'm a brick and mortar. They're probably not going to be around very long. You know, unless they have some real niche product, you know, that you just only goes by word of mouth or something like on the black market or something, you know, it can't be put online. But, you know, you're right. What's going to be that watershed moment that really clicks and who's going to be those? Like Carl Cox is all about metaverse. You know, he's very big projects. There's been some very big names that have been tapped, but the technology hasn't caught up with it. You know, one of the things I think that we're going to see probably come in faster than the metaverse, coming in with companies like Apple, is augmented reality. You know, where you're going to now, I won't be, this screen that I'm looking at on my MacBook Pro, it won't exist. I might have a keyboard here, but the screen, I'll be wearing glasses and I'll be seeing the screen. I can pull your screen up and I can have you and I here and I can have a browser over here and this over here and I can, you know, be doing like the Minority Report kind of shit. You know, I think augmented reality is going to come into play and basically replace the entertainment center, because you're gonna have those glasses, you're gonna have in-ear ed buds or over the ear, or you know, like the Oculus does it. You know, the sounds right here, but I'm not gonna have a big screen TV in my living room anymore because I'm gonna pull up the big screen TV on my eyeglass or whatever Apple's gonna call it, probably the eyeglass, but you know,
I feel like Google had the Google glasses, right?
They had Google Glass, but it wasn't well received. It didn't take off. I mean, there wasn't. I don't think AR was a significant component of it as it will be moving forward. And this is going to be a huge thing. I think where we're going to see the application being made is, again, AR coming in kind of first, is you're going to see the music industry embrace AR, where you're going to be able to go to a concert, put on those AR goggles, and where the stage show's going, you're going to have even a bigger stage experience. You know, imagine me walking into a nightclub and I could say, guess what? The nightclub ceiling's all black. But when I put on my glasses, the universe is up there, like a starry night universe. Or the DJ's playing and could hit a button and say, buy this track right now. And in my glass, I can go, boop, and boop, it downloads to iTunes and I'm buying that. I have my merch store right there. I could buy t-shirts, merch. You can put it up all over the place. Or you can have artwork on the walls that are certain paintings, but when you put on your glasses, the artwork changes to different stuff. And you have a different viewing experience through AR in a spot like that, you know?
So my question would be do you think that will be good or bad for humanity?
I look at it as, since it's so in the beginning stages, are you interviewing me now? I think in its beginning stages, I mean, just like I saw somebody actually by the name of, you know, you probably know the name Dave Dresden, long time fan of Dave's. He was one of the first DJs on our show, actually, played in my bedroom. And And so he said something, social media, there was a golden period in social media when it was really used and you could really do stuff with it and accomplish stuff with it. But over time, it's just become blah and it's not what it was. So does VR have the potential of being that way? Does AR have the potential of being that way? Yes. Is it going to start out small? Will it get too much, or will it be the haves and have-nots? I'm at a concert. I already spent $500 to Ticketmaster. Now, in order to have this experience, I got to spend $799 on a pair of glasses too to see this concert, to see this special thing. Well, it's the have and have-nots. They know we'll pay for stuff.
Right.
But again, when I said this is early 2020, right before the Quest 2 came out, which is the metaverse or the Facebook's Oculus Quest 2 came out. I said, once it drops to an applicable price point, like Nintendo, like I saw an ad, it was an old ad for the Nintendo. Get the Nintendo NES for $89.99.
Right.
How this is probably in like the early 90s.
Right.
What was $90 in 90s time compared to now? Probably $300, $400.
It's insane.
Yeah. So the Oculus now, they're great. They're decent. And they're getting ready to launch their Oculus 3. I don't think they're calling it Oculus 3, though. There's another name for it. So as long as they keep getting smaller, cheaper, faster, better, which we've seen technology do over time, it's going to be a good thing. I don't think you're going to replace in-person shows, in-person concerts. What's going to happen, though, is like they've seen with Fortnite. I was just talking with my business partner today about this. Marshmello goes in and plays a concert in Fortnite, and 10.7 million people show up for it.
Whoa.
You can't put 10.7 million people in a festival grounds, but 10.7 million people logged in to watch that Marshmello show. Travis Scott, I think, beat him and had 12 million plus people.
This already happened in the video game.
In Fortnite, the video game. And that's not even considered metaverse. That's a video game. Metaverse has the potential to do concerts and events like that.
Yeah.
So let's say I can't go to the show over in Germany, but they have 3D cameras stationed around, and I come in, they have the concert grade audio right off the stage into my headset, and I'm watching the show, and I can go, like, they already have it. I think they're selling it for NFL now. You can go and sit in the stadium and watch the NFL game because there's a 3D camera right there, and you're watching the game like you're there in the crowd.
Like if I could watch the Dallas Cowboys, right? And and if you have the packs where when you wear it, producers wear it, but if you could do that with that, so it sounds like it's the same. You're visually seeing it, and if you have the icing on the cake where you're feeling the rumble, that I would love to try that and see how to be able to go a show with a million people. That would be
I'll
weird.
I'll give them a free plug. So those vests are called oh, come on, Darren. I use their competitor with our silent disco technology, so you can actually feel the beat of the music with what's called a Wooger. So there's Wooger and there's Subpack. Subpack's the big one.
Subpacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had other friends.
Subpack, and you're at the concert and you're now feeling the bass of the music. Or even better, what if I could get that to play through my home stereo system, but I'm still watching it? So I am getting the loudness. I'm of course off the neighbors, but I think you're right. And as that it's called haptic technology gets smaller, better, cheaper, you'll be able to put on a t-shirt, and the t-shirt would be your sub pack. So you're not wearing a big vest. I like the Wooger because they make a Wooger strap. I call it the Iron Man device. It's just a little one, just like you can put it here, side. Wooger. It's about $300. I know they dropped them in price recently. I think they're $199 now. They're pretty kick ass. And I use it with my Oculus all the time. I'm in video games so really cool stuff. But again, bad for society or good for society. I think it's really gonna bring a level of connectivity even better than what a 2D environment can. Because again, one of the biggest things we lose online is inflection. How many relationships have ended? How many flame wars have happened online? How many threads just because somebody says, I like oranges and oranges are the best fruit?
Right.
No, they're not. Apples are the best fruit.
Text
Why are you even talking about apples and oranges? Tomatoes are the best. and they're all behind this keyboard kind of hiding,
Yeah.
and it's 2D inflectionist, non-inflection kind of world. Whereas when
Yeah.
you're in VR, you and I'd be talking in VR. I can hear you, you can hear
Yeah.
me. And if I don't like you, I can simply go, block.
Yeah.
You want to be able to see me, hear me, or I won't even see. And they have back-end safety systems. If you're somebody in there and you're getting too many blocks, they'll kick you off the system.
Right.
You
I
know,
feel like it's subjective. If you were to ask someone what life is like in 2022, it feels weird almost saying the year compared to like 2004 or 1997. Shit, if you could go back to 1997, right? And especially in
and
Austin,
Montauk.
you know what I mean? And especially in Austin, Texas, there's always that Austin was cooler 10 years ago kind
Oh
of
yeah.
feel and vibe. I bet like Portland and Seattle sometimes have that, like the people that have lived there for 30, 40 years, if you could go back. Exactly, right? But you think about how Instagram is affecting, younger people and affecting stress. You think of how it's arguable that we're having a decline in our ability to connect with humans out in the real world. Man, when you create a virtual one, no one's leaving their home ever. So it's give and take. I'm not here to bash VR. I find it interesting. I'm always a devil's advocate in thinking of the other side, but I mean, will I go see like Purple Disco Machine via VR? Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that sounds freaking cool. So, yeah, we'll see where the world and the planet takes us. In 5 years, 5 to 10 years, I think we're going to know. So,
I take it you haven't heard that McDonald's has a VR world where you can go into VR, order through VR, and it gets delivered to your house.
Weird. That's strange.
Yeah. Speaking of VR and
Yeah.
kind of becoming a different person, because you can become a new persona in
Yeah.
VR. Avatars, you can dress up and modify that. When it comes to your stage performances, do you become a different person when you get on stage, or are you a different person when you get off stage, or is Scott all the time?
Yeah, good question. I I don't think I don't feel similar to like let's just say Bob Dylan or David Bowie where they were like drastically different. It was like night and day talking to David Bowie apparently off stage than the person and the persona he became on stage. Um I feel the same. I feel the same, like really blessed to be in the position I'm at. And I'm naturally just an extroverted person. I don't feel like I've become someone different. Maybe a little saucier. I get a little more stank face. The beat's right and the crowd's right. But there it is. The ugly. Everyone got a stank face. Everyone's got that face. Everybody has to, right? But no, I feel like the same guy. Like I don't change that much.
Nice. And you've played countless large scale events. We all know what happens on stage. Can you give us some insight what happens backstage?
Backstage to like my bigger shows or what happens like just before an event? Would you say? Either or?
Before an event,
Yeah.
after you play, anything crazy ever happened that you can talk about that's not under NDA?
Man, let's see. Crazy stories of things that happen backstage. There are some stories I cannot bring up to keep it rated PG-13. Um, there is one story, and you've got to hear this one. Uh, it's ridiculous. South by Southwest in Austin, Texas is insane. It's one of the biggest music festival things that happens in the city, and it's 2 weeks long. The first week of South by Southwest
Oh yeah.
is all movies, and it's all about the film industry. And you've got Brad Pitt and all of these famous Hollywood stars all coming to pitch and promote their movies in Austin. And then the second week is pure music. And you'll have stories of a venue that's not even super big, no promotion. This is a real story that happened. These people are hanging out there. I think there's a few hundred people, and Jay-Z walks onto the stage. And everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? But for musical artists, it's a super pain in the ass as much as it is fun. We love like the crowds and the people, but everything is chaos. Like the person who was supposed to show up showed up an hour late, showed up an hour early. The equipment never showed up. You know, there were supposed to be speakers. The sub's not here. We don't have the right cables. Your decks aren't working. I've just seen the craziest shit for South by, and I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years. But this last year was insane. I'm at Higher Ground. I'm playing there Saturday. What's up, Higher Ground? Love you guys. Really, really cool venue. They returned this place into, it looks like a church. There's like church organs. It's super vibey. Their cocktails are great. And I'm playing on stage. And this group of people, I don't think they were from the States. They were maybe from Latin America or something. They were vibing. They were having fun. I was loving their energy. And one of the girls comes up to me and she's like, hey, can you play Bad Bunny? And I was like, I'm sorry. I don't have Bad Bunny on my thumb drive. Sorry. She goes back. She talks to her homies. She comes back and she's like, we will pay you $300 to play Bad Bunny. And my friend that I'm DJing with, I'm like, oh shit, I wish I had Bad Bunny right now. If you don't know, he's one of the biggest reggaeton artists on the face of the earth. Reggaeton is kind of the world's music, and he's the Elvis of reggaeton. He's a big, big deal. If you play house music, you will get asked to play Bad Bunny. So she is saying for $300, I would have definitely played Bad Bunny. Like somehow she goes, and I'm like, I'm sorry, it's a thumb drive. I'm not connected to the Wi-Fi. I can't do this. I'd love to help you out. She goes back. One of the guys rolls up, and in his thick accent, he's like, I'm sorry, but you really have to play Bad Bunny. And he's got $300 of cash. He's wasted. He hands me the cash, and I'm like, why are you giving me this money? I can't play Bad Bunny. I give him the cash back. And like, I'm almost angry at this point. Like, I told him I don't have Bad Bunny like 3 or 4 times. They go back. They come back again. Guess how much money they were going to tip me to play one Bad Bunny song. And I know they had it. They were going to pay it. $1,000. They're going to pay me $1,000 to play one Bad Bunny track. And I really would have fucked that whole vibe up and happily played Bad Bunny for $1,000 for a song. Would have made it happen. And I'm like just almost broken down. Now I'm just sad and begging them to leave me alone so I can finish this set. Like I'm sorry. I really don't have Bad Bunny. Like, I'm not lying. Can't connect to Wi-Fi. All my friends laughed, and they were just like, dude, I have a Bad Bunny house remix. I could have fucking helped you. Like, we could have both made $500. So it wasn't necessarily backstage, but we still get requests. I think there comes a point where you're big enough, there's security, there's like a wall. But I don't mind that I'm still connected with the people and they can still come at me. But if you hear this, I don't have Bad Bunny and I don't play reggaeton. I'm sorry.
That's good to know. But you do take requests.
If it's a wedding or a corporate event, corporate event. If it's a house show, no, I do not take requests. If you're seeing Scott Slyter and I'm playing house and disco, expect to see that.
And you mentioned you said over in your notes that you're going to be doing some Latin American tours here coming up.
Yeah.
What's the longest flight you've ever taken or had to take to get to a
Mm.
party, and was the party worth it?
The longest flight I took was to Tel Aviv, Israel.
Mhm.
And my uncle, he's not my blood uncle, but he might as well be Uncle Joseph. What's up, Uncle Joe? Love you. um, he flew me to Israel, and I connected with some really cool Israelis that love house music. Um, and I played a show out there, and it was so different and awesome, and one of the coolest cities I've ever seen in my life. And if you've never been to Tel Aviv, Israel, I highly recommend it. The flight was like 14 hours. It was long. Uh, and the only one nonstop is through New York. So you have to go to JFK. And there is a very rigorous security to get into Israel. They don't mess around. And they're going to ask you what religion you are. And if you say what I say, they're not going to be happy and they're going to fuck with you. Because they asked me what religion I was, and I laughed. And I was like, religious? I'm kind of a Buddhist. And they got really offended. And my Uncle Joe, luckily, I mean, he's from Israel. He bailed me out. And he was like, no, he's good people. You know, like he's safe. I also was bringing my controller, and they thought that was a bomb. It was like I used to use a Tractor S4 back then, and so I was going to DJ in Israel, so I was bringing my S4. So this weird case, he's a Buddhist, like red flag. So I got questioned up and down to try to get into Israel, but it was a long flight, and yes, it was absolutely worth it. It was such an incredible experience. The food was amazing. The people were so friendly, and they love house music. They love their house.
What's the best advice to give to others to keep yourself entertained during your long travels?
Interesting. An odd thing you could do is you could write a memoir or a book. It's an odd thing. And I kind of write about some of my like wild college experiences and stuff that's happened in my life. And I've wanted to come out with a book. I've written like 130 pages. It's roughly edited. I've been afraid to release it, never released the book. But you don't have to have Wi-Fi to type on your laptop. Theoretically, you could produce too. If you're a musician, you know, bring your laptop with Ableton. You're on a long flight, you're going to be undisturbed. So,
I actually have to head home from Phoenix to Seattle tonight, and I'll be editing episodes from ADE on my plane ride home because I'm
Amsterdam must have been insane, dude.
It was pretty awesome. It was definitely an experience, learning lesson. Daytime work, just like they say, daytime work, nighttime party.
Right.
We went to some really awesome clubs, met some really awesome people. You know, we're hanging out with the Monster Cat crew, the We Rave You crew. Let's see who else I give shout outs to. Everyone we interviewed, I'd give shout outs to.
My friends from Tall Door Records in San Francisco and Austin, they went to Amsterdam. They played a show somewhere at some local thing for ADE. Apparently, it's a big deal. I need to try to get out there.
It's a huge deal. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that you know that everyone's going to be there. And if you want to meet with them in person, you set up your meetings there. Otherwise, it's Zoom. It's like this, you know, virtual. It used to be phone calls and very expensive international phone calls. But now that we have the internet, we just Zoom back and forth or whatnot. But definitely good to finally meet people in person that I have never met in person before. I've been talking to and working with for years. So that was pretty awesome to go. I definitely recommend it, and give yourself some time to go see Amsterdam. We had 3 days at the festival and then 3 days off. And, one of the things we were doing, is funny. My girlfriend and I, we were walking down the street and I'm like, hey, we're in Amsterdam. Cause we have this thing where we just decide to go whatever way we go, that's wherever we go. And wherever we land, we land. And I'm walking down the street and I go, it'd be really cool. We should go to the Heineken Museum. And literally, like, I swear to God, there was trees up, couldn't see, but we take another 100 steps and right around the corner was the actual Heineken Museum. And I go, we're going.
Shit.
Yeah. It was a pretty cool tour, pretty cool history, Heineken and how involved they are around the world and everything and how it started. And even at the end, you can get Heineken bottles with your name printed on the bottom.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Trivia about my name. It's from Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. Slyter is a Dutch name, and it means to close. Slyter, Slyter. Is how they say it in Amsterdam, which means to close a business deal, to slide a door close. I need to go party with my people at some point.
Should we just call you Scott Closer from now on?
There we go. When I used to do sales, my boss thought that was funny. He was like, you got to live up to the name, man.
Yeah. If you could give a production tip or insight to new producers out there, what would that be?
Remember to have fun. Remember to take your craft both seriously, but not take yourself too seriously. Get feedback from your friends. And less is more. So if you're producing a track and you incorporate a new element, remove something else, kind of like a band is on stage. And if you want the guitar to be spotlighted, just like you would as a producer, remove some of these elements. That way the spotlight can shine a little bit brighter on the guitar.
Yeah, definitely good advice there. I think I resonate with the less is more. Especially because I saw a lot of people jumping on the Twitch bandwagon, and it reminded me of the first days when we started live streaming, and I try to throw all these different elements into the show. And then I go, no, less is more. I take away. I'm not trying to say that I don't like the emojis. I get the emojis. I get all the eye candy on the screen and stuff. As my production staff, I don't like it. I think less is more. Let the production speak for itself in a sense, and not try to overdo it too much. In regards to overdoing it, though, you're a bit of a sports enthusiast, and tell us about this kite surfing in the Caribbean.
Oh, man. So kite surfing is one of the most raw, spiritual, incredible sports that I've ever done in my life. And I went to college in Corpus Christi, Texas, which is on the ocean, and it's one of the windiest cities in America. So everyone gets kite surfing confused with windsurfing. So kite surfing is a massive parachute, 90 feet in the air, and it's connected to you with a harness. And then you have a bar which controls it to go left or right in that direction, sheet in, sheet out. And you can send, and then you have like a wakeboard, a small board that your feet are binded into. And you can send the kite in one direction in like a 45-degree angle. And then you're gliding on top of the water, just 10, 15 miles an hour. And then when you want to, you can send the kite to 12 o'clock right above you. You sheet out, you sheet in, and then you fly up into the sky. I've gone 20, 25 feet, like over a house. Back rolls, done back rolls, front rolls. I jumped over a small island and then didn't make it and crashed into an oyster bed. Yeah. And my dumbass, after I did that, I was like, you know what? I think I can make it. So I go back around, true story in Corpus Christi, go back around and I try to jump over this island, and the second time I ate it way worse. Knocked myself unconscious. A line was wrapped around a cactus, and I had the oysters just like I still have like light scars on my back. I didn't try it a third time. I had to and to make it worse, I had to ride all the way back to my car. My friend was freaked out. Luckily, I had a friend out there, and he was like, "Dude, are you okay? Are you alive?" And like I came to, and it was, don't let that fear you and scare you from kite surfing. I swear it can be a safe sport. You don't have to jump over islands. Super, super badass. Highly recommend it. And like that's my retirement goal, hopefully, is to be able to like surf and kite next to the ocean. Like on top of DJing and producing, my favorite thing and where my soul resides is on a beach, either surfing or kiting.
Awesome, Scott. Well, thank you for coming on the DJ sessions today. Is there anything else you'd like to let our fans know about you before we let you go?
Yeah. Please follow my Instagram handle. It's also got a link tree to all my music. Scott Slyter at Scott Slyter ATX. Bam, there it is. And then also it'll have a link tree to my collective Disco Nap Music. It's at Disco Nap Music. If you want to perform in Austin, Texas, we love to invite other.
Uh-oh, we lost Scott. I don't know how we lost Scott. Did Scott hit a button on his keyboard?
I did it. I swear. Can you still hear and see me?
I still can hear and see you.
Maybe it's been an hour. But I was just plugging in if you I don't know what it is. Maybe it's been longer than an hour. Maybe
no, we're on Restream. We have unlimited time here.
Oh, weird. Basically, hit us up if you want to perform in Austin, Texas. Shoot us a message through our Instagram.
And that's the Disco Nap Music?
Yeah, Disco Nap Music or Scott Slyter. We have a monthly. We'll probably have a second monthly. And we do a lot of trades where we'll host you in Austin. You'll eat some awesome tacos. You'll see Zilker Park. You'll play a fun show. And then normally when I tour the West Coast, I'll try to come through your city.
Awesome. Scott, thank you so much for being on the DJ sessions. We're definitely going to be staying in touch with you and following up with you as we do with every DJ that comes on the show. And I definitely want to talk with you about that trade program you got there. I'm very interested in that. So we got a lot of awesome resident DJs on our end that would love to come and see Austin. I'd love to come and see Austin. It's on my plans to be at South by Southwest next time. So we'll definitely connect there. So again, thank you for coming on the DJ sessions tonight.
Cool. Thank you, Darren. I appreciate y'all listening.
Absolutely. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Meta, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. We're out there, thedjsessions.com. You can now find us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, and Apple TV. Find us in the metaverse at Altspace with our VR nightclubs. Even download our mobile app. And over 600 news stories and live interviews and exclusive mixes and more are all at our website. Go there, thedjsessions.com. That's Scott Slyter. I'm Darren Bruce, coming to you from the Spark Studio in Phoenix, Arizona, for the DJ sessions. And remember, on the DJ sessions, the music never stops.